Steamboat School, inspired by a true story, by Deborah Hopkins and illustrated by Ron Husband. I always thought being brave was for grown-up heroes doing big, daring deeds, but Mama says that sometimes courage is just an ordinary boy like me, doing a small thing as small as picking up a pencil. The Candle School. I might as well begin with that first morning when Mama made such a fuss over my going to school. "Ouch! My face is in a washboard," I cried. She kept scrubbing. "James, this is a proud day," she said. Truth was, Tassie had to drag me all the way. I wanted to stop and see everything. The steamboats dotting the river, their black smokestacks straight as pencils, the levee bustling with men loading and unloading, sugarcane, cotton, wheat, in logs for the sawmills. River bells clanged. People shouted and scurried like ants. "Hurry," urged Tassie. "Reverend John doesn't hold with being late." At 3rd and Almond, we slipped into the church and headed down the basement steps, into the darkness, to the tallow candle school. "Why can't we have windows?" I whined, already missing the sun. "Hush, you know why," Tassie said, and I did. I felt a hand on my shoulder. "Welcome to school, James," said Reverend John. "We make our own light here." Our teacher. I followed Tassie regular after that, though I couldn't get used to the darkness. But I liked when Reverend John read to us, or told us his own story, how he was born a slave, and worked in the Kentucky saltpeter caves to buy his own freedom, then earned enough to free his mother and father, too. But before he could buy liberty for his wife, her master brought her here to St. Louis. Reverend John followed, walking hundreds of miles. "I arrived with $3, he told us. "But you had to pay $2 to cross the Mississippi," we chimed in. He laughed and held out his hands. All I needed was that $1 and my 2 hands to start again. Reverend John went to work as a barrel maker and carpenter. He earned enough to free his wife. Then he became the first leader of this church. He believed in hard work and learning. He believed in us. When the men came. And then one day, men came. They shouted, footsteps pounded. The door flew open. Reverend John stood up to meet them. "This school is closed," the sheriff said. "The state of Missouri has a new law. No reading or writing for you folks, slave or free." The new law, 1847. Later I asked Reverend John to write out the law on a scrap of paper. "Be it enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Missouri as follows. No person shall keep any school for the instruction of Negroes or mulattoes, reading or writing in this state." Finding a way. That night Tassie's tears glistened on her cheeks, as shiny as her needle in the lamplight. "What will happen now?" she asked. I thought of all those days Tassie had dragged me to school. Now I felt as if a penny I'd counted on had fallen out of my pocket. "Reverend John Barry Meacham cares more for education than any man in this city," Mama said. "He's a force like the Mississippi River itself, and like the river, he'll find a way." I didn't see how, though. I took out my scrap of paper and read the law again. We waited, but no word came. At night I made letters and numbers by candlelight. By day I toted bundles of laundry for Mama and practiced reading signs. Dry goods, horses to let, stable, barber, potatoes. I closed my eyes. Horses. HORSES. One morning my steps took me to the church. I thought of our books and slates in that dark room. Funny how something you don't care much about at first can end up becoming the most important part of you. The door opened and Reverend John stepped out. "Hello, James. If you're done helping your mother today, come along with me." He led the way to the levee, to a bright new steamboat. "She's a real beauty," I said. "Did you build her, sir?" For answer, he held up his 2 hands. "I could use some help now, though," he said. Tassie and I helped every day after that, painting, hammering, and polishing the deck. "What's inside?" I asked one day. "Hush," said Tassie. "Don't you know?" And I did. Dipping the oar. The streets were dark when Tassie and I set out. We walked quickly by the levee. Suddenly, I turned a corner and bumped into a policeman. "Where are you two going?" he growled. "We're freed men, sir. Our mother's a laundress," I squeaked out. Tassie nodded. "We're fetching 2 big bundles of laundry for her." He grunted and waved us on. We ran the rest of the way. In the gray fog, the river smelled like mud. I pointed. "There, he's over there." We climbed into the skiff. Our teacher dipped his oar into the still, deep water. "But I don't see anything," someone whispered. Then a breeze lifted the fog a little, and we saw a boat anchored in the river. "That's it," I breathed. "That's our school." Freedom School. New chairs and desks. A small library with books. "I'm bringing my pole tomorrow," Tom cried. "We can catch fish for lunch." "Welcome to Freedom School," Reverend John told us, when we'd settled on the benches. "But, sir, what about the law?" Mary asked. "James knows about the law," said Reverend John. "Can you tell them?" I stood as tall as I could. "The law says we can't be taught in the state of Missouri, but we're in the middle of the Mississippi River now. The river doesn't belong to just one state. It belongs to the whole country. The law against learning can't reach us here," Reverend John smiled, and then he laughed out loud, and we laughed too. "Now let's get to work, children," he said. "The sun's up." And it was. Being brave. I've written it out like Mama asked, but I don't think I'll ever forget, for I've made up my mind to go to school till I'm old enough to row the other children out and teach the little ones to read. I won't forget, because now I know that being brave can sometimes be a small thing, like lighting a candle, opening a book, or dipping an oar into still, deep water.